Alright everybody, welcome. Let me know how the audio is, let me know if you can see and hear me. Hi! I have a very sleepy cat here. I don't know if you can see the paws that are sticking out. He's upside down. I'm good to go. I actually have the craft camera working for once. Can I get you to come? Come here. Let's see if we can make this work. Before we actually get into the crafting, I'm gonna bring you the cat. Because that's what streamers want, right? Come here. Come here. There we go. Kitty cat. I woke him up. I woke him up for pets. It's terrible. Yeah, it's totally terrible. I woke the cat up to get petted. Hi, it's horrible. I'm a completely mean, totally horrible person. I woke him up to get stomach pats and ear scritches. It's terrible. It's terrible. You're gonna be there, aren't you? You're just gonna be, yeah, you're just gonna sit there, aren't you? I put you here and now you're not gonna leave. That's what's gonna happen, isn't it? This is not a flattering view of you, cat. No, it's not. Will you lay down? So this is what happens when you craft with cat. He is a sweetheart and a suck with me and roommate. Anyone else, he runs away in terror. And they can't even see your face, silly boy. If you ever try to get a cat to do what you want them to do, the answer is no. Hi. So yeah, cat distractions aside. Like I said, welcome to the stream. Today we're going to be doing some knitting. I am working on, where did I put them? I'm working on this pair of gloves. Hang on. Despite the cat, I will switch cameras again and show you. Despite the cat, so this is what we're working on today. Yes, I know, I'm bringing up, that's your ears. I'm bringing the glove in so you can see. And apparently the cat can also see. This entire episode is going to be distracted by cat, I think. This is what we're working on today. I'm actually really close to done. So this is these stitches on this pink yarn are where I have put stitches aside for the thumb gusset. I'm going to pull this up just a touch. And then this is the kind of rest of the top of the hand. And I only have maybe one or two full, like one or two, looks like one more pattern will be left before this is, I can go over to the zipper, good lord, the ribbing. So if you want to see the finished mitten, I can actually show that off. Luckily, though this is a commission, my customer and I are about the same size, so this is what the finished mitten looks like. Please again ignore the cat. He's gonna stay there. He's just gonna stay there. This is gonna be an interesting stream because there's now a cat. All right. So yeah, that is that. That's what we're doing today. So let me come back to the face cam and I'll show this to you without the cat. This is what we're making today. This is before blocking, but I'm not expecting this to block out very much because it is very, very dense. It's cashmere, so it's going to stick. I can tell from this yarn this is going to be a dry clean only kind of yarn or hand wash very gently kind of yarn because it's already very fuzzy. It'll felt really easy. I can pretty much tell that from looking at you. Anyway, but hello. So yeah, that's what we're doing today. I'm going to be knitting on the cat. Hi. Yes, I'm knitting on you because you won't move. Don't give me that look. That is not my problem. I'm definitely going to have to add to this video's tags cat, because definitely that is a thing. Which brings me to the first point. Yes, this is the commission. Yes, this is part of what I do for my job. I make commission knits. However, and there's a big kind of not however, but okay, you need to know this. If you're ordering from me, as you can see, I have cats. There's actually two of these guys. There is two of the black house panthers. They're pretty well behaved, but I live in a small apartment. I can't lock them out of my bedroom / studio. For one thing, it causes way too much havoc, but also it's just not feasible. So the thing is, that means that they do this. They are on the knitting, they sleep on the yarn. So everything I send out is washed. But if you are super, super allergic to cat dander, I am not the commission artist for you. That's something I feel people need to know up front. That's just because, yeah, that is a thing. Something else that I got asked that was actually not in my FAQ on either Etsy or on my commission page is because I said I'm a no-smoking household. I'm not. I am a no-smoking household. Not nobody here smokes. But the other question is, since I'm in Canada, where marijuana is legalized, do I smoke weed? And the answer is no. So no smoking of any kind in this household, in case that's a concern. Because, yeah, when I didn't think about it, but, yeah, with the idea of, oh, no smoking versus being specific and saying, yeah, no smoking of any kind, so weed, tobacco, anything of that nature is not. The reason for the asking is, for those who don't know, marijuana is legal in Canada. Are you hiccuping? Yeah, I think he's hiccuping. So I was a little bit surprised by that request, but I'll answer it here and I'll add it to my FAQs because it is a useful thing to explain. So how the stream works. For those who haven't been here before, for those who are catching it on the replay, oh, I'm out of camera, so yeah, I've got to get used to knitting within the camera boundary again. My apologies. So that's going to happen. So how the stream works is I will knit things on stream, but so you're going to get to see my studio. That's usually sample knitting, but it can also be things like pattern writing or even maybe behind the scenes like admin side stuff. If it doesn't involve the customer data, I can absolutely show you that too. So what you're going to see, like, so sometimes I'll do pattern writing, other times I'm doing this sort of sample knitting. It really varies just depending on what needs to be done around the studio. And yeah, that is, I'm not used to knitting over a cat, too, since he has apparently decided that this is where cats belong today. Cat, that is someone in the, okay, and we're off. He heard the garbage tins opening below our balcony, And, you know, cats are mercurial and peculiar little creatures, so... Okay, let me just actually swing this way just a touch, so I'll stand a bit better framing. So he was like, oh, this sounds interesting. Yep, go see the cat. Hey, at least he's decided not to be on my lap anymore because he was getting kind of warm. But yeah, so that is what's going on there. Anyway, so the point of the stream, like I said, you're going to see pattern writing, you're going to see knitting, but this is also a point for you guys to come in and ask questions. So if you have, like, one thing that I talked about and is come in and ask questions. If you're working on one of my patterns and you are stuck, ask me a question, and unless it's something in a magazine, I can actually pull up the pattern and walk you through stuff online. I tried Streamyards so that I can actually bring people on, not only that way, not only via chat, but also actually via, like, webcam. But Streamyards has issues with some things, and I've just had to go back to OBS. It gives me a lot more control. Streamyards does not give me the control that I wanted with certain things. Unfortunately, bringing someone on is something that I can no longer do, but other than that, I pretty much have most of the functionality. The only thing I can't do is highlight YouTube comments on screen yet. There is an OBS like plugin widget for that. I have to just figure to get it to work because it relies on Google Chrome, which I'm not using at the moment. Anyway, so yeah, the point of the stream is A, for you folks to see just a little bit of what it looks like to be a knit designer. And B, if you've got pattern questions, this is the perfect place to ask them because I can literally pull up patterns on screen if they're one of my own patterns, if they're not published in a magazine, and walk you through it. I can pull up my own tutorials or even someone else's tutorials and be like, hey, this is where you go. This is what we're talking about. So I have a lot of options that I can do on screen so that if you are a little lost, but like, help, I don't know if I'm doing this right, I can either assure you are, or hopefully help maybe understand what is actually, you know, whatever isn't working. So this is the star stitch that I'm doing here. So this row of the star stitch is just knitting along. That makes this pretty easy. I know I mentioned this last week, but those on Patreon, my behind the scenes access, absolutely are going to be familiar. I had a debacle with a shipping company. And I do mean one of those, like, really people. So I'll start at the beginning, for those who have not heard the saga. If you are a patron, you've already read this in the behind the scenes, and I'm sorry you're going to get to hear it again, because I'm still a little salty. So what happened is, back at the beginning of April, I had to send a package to the States. Now, this is normally not a real issue. Occasionally I get blindsided by a customs change or something, but 90% of the time it is not a problem. I send the packages and it's not a thing. So I was sending a commercial sample, I was sending a pair of socks to the US for a magazine. This should not be complicated. The thing is over the Easter weekend. Now, I had to push close to the deadline for these socks, and that, I will fully admit, that part's on me. I had some sizing issues, I had to do some frogging and reworking and frogging and reworking and frogging and reworking, and I'm like, oh, it's going to be real tight to get them mailed to the States. Okay, crap. I've had to priority ship stuff to the States before because of that, so it's a thing that happens. Magazine deadlines are tight, and sometimes the fact of it is that I have to priority ship stuff to the States because it's taken me longer than I thought to make the sample, or just, again, I've had a sizing issue, or I've had a tension issue. And if I have to go back and unravel some of my sample, well, then it takes me longer to make. Okay, annoying, but it's part of the course of this job. So, it is the 6th, and the deadline for this magazine is the 10th. But that's fine, because they're doing the photography, so it has to be there by the 10th. That is a, not negotiable. No, this is one of the points, this is one of the points in the magazines that they do the photography. So I go to Canada Post, and I say, hi, I need to overnight this to the States. I understand the 7th is a stat holiday, so there's going to be no postal service on the 7th. That was Good Friday. And probably no postal service over the weekend because, it's Easter Sunday, both of which are holidays here in Canada. So they tell me, well, we actually can't do that. We don't have priority service over this kind of long weekend holiday. Oh. Uh-oh. So they tell me there's a courier company. I knew the one. There's a shipping company. They might have a service for you. We can't do it. And actually, to be fair, I really do appreciate Canada Post saying, hey, we can't do this. It's better than them taking my money and lying to me about what they can do. Okay. So I go down to the shipping service, which is only a couple blocks away. I am a little bit panicked because it has to get there by the 10th, and I had counted on Canada Post having priority service available. So I'm like, oh, uh-oh. Am I going to be sending the awkward email that's actually reaching the magazine on the 11th or 12th? Oh, boy. But I come into the courier service. I say, hey, I know it's going to be more expensive. Can you deliver on Easter Monday? And, yep, cool. Great. It's going to be really expensive. Well, that's my fault. That is my fault. I knew the deadlines. I knew it was going to cost more to priority ship. That's on me. That's my responsibility as a business owner to make sure the thing gets to where it's supposed to be. So sure, I'll eat that cost. Am I happy? No, but that's my responsibility. Next thing, the magazine was using a US post office box. This is actually really common for a lot of really small publications because they don't want to give out a home address. Understandable. So I asked them, hey, can your company deliver to a US post office box? Because not all courier companies can. This I knew. I didn't know the specifics, but I had heard enough horror stories just over my time on the internet that not all couriers or services can deliver to post office boxes. So I specifically asked, can your service deliver to a post office box? And was told, yep, no problem. So I drop it off with them. I get an email saying, hey, your thing will be delivered on the 10th. And I don't think anything more of it. Now, to be fair, I wasn't completely paying attention. So when I get an email from the magazine on the 12th going, hey, where's the sample? I go, ooh. Wait, what? And I started investigating, The sample is somewhere in the States. It didn't even leave Toronto until the 11th. I'm already displeased because it's already late. And of course, this does not look good on me in the fact that, like, I tried to ship this and it's now running late. That just doesn't look professional on my end. So I'm already displeased. Well, nobody knows where this package is. The courier company's being unhelpful, and their shipping just keeps getting updated with unknown. It's somewhere in the States at this point. Finally, my contact at the magazine contacts me back and says, wait, who told you the courier could deliver to U.S. Post Office box? The staff at this particular shipping company? Yeah, no, they should have known that. The reason for this whole entire debacle, well, not all of it, but the reason for the massive delay in why the package hasn't been delivered yet is because the courier company can't deliver because they don't deliver to post office boxes. So I sort that out with the courier company by going in and changing the address and changing it to a non-post office box address. Okay, cool. But I've missed the photo shoot at this point. So I contact the courier company going, like, this is completely unacceptable, not only to pay a major premium to have it delivered on the 10th, which you couldn't even do. I also, you couldn't deliver it at all. And they tell me, well, that's not our responsibility. The shipping service, the one that basically booked the package through us, is the one to blame because they should never have booked this package in the first place. Because it was going to U.S. Post Office box, and we don't do that, and they should have known that. Okay, I'm annoyed. Understandable. So I try to contact the shipping company. Their customer service line tries to charge me for the privilege of calling them. So I get on the internet and start sleuthing to see if they have another customer service line, and find story after story of very, very questionable business practices. Basically charging customers to pick up parcels. Very, very sort of like, wait, we didn't agree to this fee sort of stuff. A lot of that. So I contact them going basically, hi, you not only told me that you could deliver on the 10th, which you couldn't do, because it is a holiday and the package didn't leave even Ontario until the 11th. And your staff told me this could be delivered to a U.S. Post Office box. Oh, we'll open an investigation. Or email, still never working customer phone line. Well, the response is, well, since the courier company won't refund you, we won't either. I had some salty words there. So, basically, it's the courier company's fault, and we're not going to refund you. You have to go to them for a refund, and they're not going to refund you. We already asked. Bye! So, yeah, I had some salty words there. So, this is where I did the thing that consumers should do if this sort of thing happens. If a seller of any kind is deciding to be a jerk, go do a chargeback, whatever it looks like on that particular payment service. Most of them offer it for exactly this sort of service where you get something that is not as represented or something doesn't arrive at all. So I did that. I contacted my bank and said basically, like, this is what happened. Basically, they're both basically shifting responsibility for the refund on each other. It was not delivered on the 10th, and it was also not, delivered at all until I went and changed the address because I was assured it could be delivered to U.S. Post Office box when it couldn't be. And then I got the refund. But I had to do it through my bank, which was actually beyond a very, very long hold time, not too painful. But the saga kind of continues in a good way, because this is where I say, yay, people are actually good people. So in the meantime, I mentioned I'd missed the magazine photo shoot. Well, I've been in contact with the magazine people going, like, this is what's going on, this is what I'm trying to resolve. When the sample finally arrived, they sorted another photo shoot for me. And I will be published with them in May. Like, that is, like, they didn't have to do that. They could have just told me that I either wasn't under contract anymore, or they could have had me waiting for another issue, which would have been another couple months. They did not have to do that for me, and I'm like, oh my god, thank you so much. So, like, this is where I say people are good people, because they did not have to do that. That was well outside the bounds of what they would have had to do for professionalism. They wanted to acknowledge the work. They wanted to make sure I got paid more immediately, which is very, very helpful right now. They did not have to do that. And so that magazine has utterly impressed me just with the simple act of, yeah, no, we sorted that for you because this is obviously not your fault. They did not have to do that. So I am very, very impressed. And I'm submitting to them again. Because barring the shipping debacle, I really enjoyed working with them. So yeah. And I'm just, like I said, very, very impressed by just, like, the fact they're willing to do that. And it's the whole, like, hey, look, people aren't jerks. Sorry about that. I figured you did not want to hear me sneeze. That is very exciting, both for the fact that it means I'm getting paid in May, yay! But also because it means that, like, I don't have to have this hanging around for months on end while I wait for the new issue. It's just so nice to have that. They were really challenging design because they're knit on the bias, which is why I had so many frog redo moments. Because they're in the bias, the usual way of calculating out sock sizes doesn't quite work, and that was part of the challenge. So that is exciting. The other thing is here, I want to show you folks this before actually I get too distracted. And again, I noticed I'm still slipping out of frame a little bit. I'm going to pull this a little bit further back. And hopefully I can keep my hands in frame because I'm still to practice knitting to the camera like this. So let me show you something here, because this is a star stitch, and this is something that I noticed a lot of knitters struggle with when it comes to how to do this. So when you have a stitch that goes across the beginning and end of your round, so this marker is the beginning and end of my round. That's fine, that's what this is. But the star stitch is worked over these 2 stitches, 1, 2, plus this one here for 3. So you take this marker off. I have a bad habit of holding things in my mouth. You're not supposed to do that. You'd think the pandemic would taught me that. It's still a bad habit. But put it aside. Put it somewhere. Work your stitch. Okay. Now in this case, it's the 3rd stitch of the star stitch. And this is a little hard to separate out because we have 4 strands of yarn here. So I think... yeah. So now you have 2 stitches of your star stitch here, the last stitch of your star stitch here, and you put your marker there. Slip this back. Boom. Now the advantage of a clip marker is you could also clip it into the work like here if you wanted to do that instead. But in this case I actually find it more useful to have it on the needle because I would not be able to see easily the 2nd or 3rd stitch of the star. I'd have to read the knitting a bit more. Now, we have come back around to round 1 of the pattern. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure and just going to see if I am actually at the point where I need to do the ribbing. Now I'm just going to put my 2 mittens side by side. I'm actually going to measure. I'm going to do this side by side because that's actually going to be a bit better of a show. So we're on the ribbing now. Okay, so this stitch is the 1st stitch of the ribbing row, right here. That's fine. Okay, great. So we count this as the 1st knit stitch in our ribbing. And so our first actual stitch is a purl stitch. Oh, except I'm also a bit of a fool because I need to switch to smaller needles right now. So these are 2.75s and these are 2.5s, and I'm trying to remember the US sizes. I think it's US 2 and US 1.5. If I recall correctly, I do not always remember the US sizings, and I'm sorry. So yeah, so we're switching to smaller needles to bring the ribbing in a little bit, because the thing is, ribbing tends to flare a little bit, especially by the way I knit. So and what you want to do is if you want a bit of a tighter cuff on anything, you can just go down a needle size. So what we're going to do is we're going to take, so again, we're still going to do a purl stitch first, because we already have 1 stitch on the needle. That's the start of ribbing and a knit stitch. And you don't really have to worry that if you started this with a knit stitch here, you just have to purl this stitch. It doesn't really matter, but it's one of those, like, if I'm going to be specific in the pattern, let's be specific in the pattern. So we're going to purl. This looks terrifying. It's not bad. This is just knit 1, purl 1 ribbing going all the way along. The only slightly hilarious thing is that it's a bit interesting working with them as an international designer because they're based in the States, and so there's been a couple like, oh yeah, hang on, this is the where did this go for Canadians? But that's just like a thing. That's actually pretty common if you're working internationally. You'll just encounter somebody who's like, oh right, you're in another country, we have to do this, or can you handle that? And at least in Canada, most of the time, it is not a problem. I don't know, of course, obviously I can't speak for designers in every country, but at least Canada, this sort of work, if I'm getting paid from the States, is not really too difficult. There's a few tax things I have to do, mostly actually on the US side. Basically, I have to fill out a form being like, yeah, no, I'm not a US citizen, and no, I'm not working in the US, and yeah, no, to take advantage of the tax treaties between Canada and the US, because otherwise what will happen is the IRS will be, they don't know if I'm a US citizen or not, so the US tax service will actually hold back some things. It's a weird thing. The U.S. tax service in particular is a very, very weird thing when it comes to international creators. But because the U.S. and Canada have a tax treaty, I can be like, hi, yeah, no, I'm Canadian. You don't tax me because of this particular tax treaty. And that's basically the only form that I have to fill out, which is pretty convenient. And then I have to, of course, claim that on my own taxes. But hey. Oh, that's not good. Okay, I'm going to have to fix this. So this is just needle falling out, which happens every once in a while. And you just pick up your stitches. And if I have to drop down and reknit something, I can. So we're going to go like this. I'm just going to work this with the smaller needles to avoid having to futz about. So I have a bit of a boo-boo here, and we're going to fix this. Oh, I've also lost my stitch counter. That's going to be an interesting one to figure out later, but I'll do that. I'll figure that out as I go. So this is now the yarn we're running with. I've basically gone 1 row down. Slip all these across to see if I've actually managed to do the thing. Hang on. I think I've set another stitch that I need. So I have to figure out where exactly and what exactly I made a mess up here. This one is pretty clearly knit together. That's fine. Okay. So we'll start here. That part I can tell. So this is another star stitch. This is going to be a little awkward because I'm working with one held below. But that's not the end of the world, and I can do that. Okay, so that means the next stitch should be a knit 1. So what am I looking at here? Oh, I think I see what happened. Okay, so the one below this is also comfrey. So basically I'm laddering down to fix this mess, and it's going to be interesting. So because I lost a stitch here, so we're going to go in and we're going to fix this. Knit 1, yarn over, knit 1. Come on. So this is going to be pretty fiddly, but I think I can fix this. Okay, so I'm actually going to have to go back and unravel a couple rows. This is not fixable laddering down. I'm going to have to go back and ladder a couple rows, so that is annoying, but understandable. Okay, so where are my smaller stitches? Which ones are my small? These are my smaller needles. Okay. This happens sometimes. You just can't fix it. You have to unravel back. So I know what I'm doing today. So now, where's my actual end? So this is the actual end, so I'm going to take this, I'm going to pull this through, and then I'm going to pull this through to here. So what I'm doing is I'm setting up my stitches so that I can see the back, and I'm going to have to just tink back. And in doing so, what that's going to let me do, so this is the other end of my larger needle. Hang on, let me untangle my thread and my cords. Oh, too many cords. Okay. This is the larger end of my other end of my larger needle, which is attached to my yarn in not a good way. There we go. So this is going to be, I'm just going to be unraveling technically the ribbing here, but, and then I'll just basically have to come back and do a couple rows again. Because yeah, I can't ladder down to fix that. It's just too complex, unfortunately. So I'm back to the larger needles, and I will just have to ladder and fix, and basically tink back a couple rows. Annoying, yes, not the end of the world, because it's only 1 or 2 rows, it looks like. I thought I could ladder down and fix it. The answer is I cannot. It's too complex. It's one of the problems with the star stitch is that you have to, because the way the star stitch works, because there's a lot of increases and decreases to make it, it is fiddly about laddering back up and down. So, hey. For those who didn't see my previous videos, yes, I am working 4 yarns held at once. Yes, I'm working with 4 yarns held at once. That is to make the fabric and the design do what I wanted it to do. Sometimes you have to do weird things in the name of your art. Okay, so we don't need these needles anymore. And I want to get to the point where I can stick my yarn stitch, my round count stitch marker back in. So we're going to go here. And basically I can work until I can spot my yarn, my beginning end of round marker. So my beginning end of round marker is actually right here. At least I very much suspect it is, and if not, it'll start to show that when I go through the pattern. So this is the knit 3 together decreases that form the star stitch that I'm sticking my needle into. Luckily, honestly that's done more by feel than by actually being able to see it, which is kind of a pain. I'm not gonna lie. So this is, for those who've never seen this, this is what magic loop looks like. I just realized that some of you may not realize how I'm sort of just slipping my needles back and forth. And again, I'm noticing I'm getting out of frame. If I am ever out of frame, please let me know in the chat, because I still don't, if I get really kind of having to focus on the work, I don't always realize that I'm out of frame. So yeah, hang on, let's see if we can, there. See if that helps a little too. Okay, so something happened here too, so it's probably a good thing that I'm unraveling. This should be plain knitting, this row here. This should be a plain knit row, so that unraveling it should not be too difficult. Now, some of you might be wondering why I didn't just take out the yarn and pull. The simple reason for that is that then it would be really hard to get this back on the needle. This is a sticky yarn, and it's also something where it is very, because you've got a whole bunch of various tight decreases in here, it's easy to lose a stitch if I do that. So I'm only going back a couple rows. I would rather do it this way. Oh, because that should have been a knit, and it's not. This should all be a plain knit row, and it's not. So something weird got messed up here. So it's really, like I said, so it's a good thing I'm unraveling then. Okay, so yeah, this is going to be a bit more unraveling than I planned, but that's okay, we can deal. So I think what happened is I lost the yarn over in a star stitch or two. That's I think has happened here, and I'll know that when I get back down to the next round. So I find it easier to tink like this, tink being the word for knitting, because it's the opposite. It's literally the word knit spelled backwards. And I have the backs of the work facing, so that's why it looks like this is all purls, because it is, because I am working on the wrong side of the work to I find it easier to knit backwards or to unknit this way, or to, as I said, the term is tink, because it is quite literally knit spelled backwards. Like I said, I do apologize for the questionable bandwidth. Honestly, I'm at the point where I'm probably going to have to call our router provider and internet provider going, hey, what the hell? I'm 95% sure it's actually a problem with a router or a modem. These clusters of 3 stitches close together, that's the knit 3 together that we want to find and insert and pull. And I'm pretty sure this is what has broken. This is a knit 3 together, but it only has 1 stitch coming out of it. So that's where I think the star stitch got itself broken. So there we go, that's one of them fixed, and I think there's another one further along that I have to fix. So anyway, if anyone's got any questions, drop them into the chat. If you've got a question and you're watching this in replay, drop it in the replay. You can drop it on the comments. The way the stream works is it will go unlisted for a time while I sort out, just cut anything that needs to be cut if I got salty or if something happened on stream that I don't want to have in the final playthrough, like trolls coming in or something along those lines, and oh boy. I think I just had something snap on me. Those are what I just picked up, and I just want to make sure that it looks okay. It mostly does. Okay, so it does look good. So you probably got a view at the top of my head, but hey. Okay, this is gonna be fun. I've gotten my yarn hooked around the cord of the needle. Alright, that's fixable when I come back around though. Just more annoying than anything else. This is not what I had in mind when I was going to do a lot of frogging. So what I'm doing here is I'm just purling from behind because I am on the back side of the work. I'm just going to purl these 2 stitches. That should correct the problem. And if it doesn't, we'll notice pretty quickly. So let me flip this back around the front side and see if that's correct. I'm almost done the frogging, and I think I'm to the point where I can probably start turning this sucker around. So I'm going to call it for tonight. So we actually did more unraveling on stream than I did knitting, because I had to unravel after the star stitch got a little bit messed up. But I will show you all this, what we're working on before I head out for the day. But I'm doing pretty well, other than just wrangling. Apparently we do a lot of unwrangling and wow, a lot of unraveling and wrangling a questionable internet. So this is what we're making. It's a commission piece, but luckily my customer is similar in size enough to me that I can wear this to show it off like this. And I had to go back and do some unraveling to fix the star stitch because I dropped some stitches and it got weird, and I could not just ladder down because it was being just not possible, given how complex the star stitch is, because it's a bunch of increases and decreases. No, otherwise I'm doing okay. I got the shipping debacle resolved, which was the first part of the stream, if anyone tuned in. So yeah, so I didn't see chat before. I was a little too focused on the unraveling. Anyway, so that is going to be it for the day. If you missed the stream, you can comment on the replay. Please do. It's always fun to have things. If you want to show off what you're making, you can drop it in comments on the replay. No Ravelry links there, please. But otherwise, go ahead and feel free to toss links in the comments. Feel free to share what you're working on in the comments. Alright, and there goes my bit rate again. Hopefully, next stream I'll actually pattern reading because I'll be done these socks. That'd be great. We will see how that goes. Anyway, again, thank you everybody for hanging out with me today. If you missed it, comment on the replay, and I will see you all next week, if not before, elsewhere on the internet.